Welcome to the Hindu Daily. We've got quite a packed set of articles today. Let's jump right into the editorial section. First up, Universal Basic Income, or UBI. The piece we're looking at positions UBI not just as an idea, but as an urgent necessity for India right now.
Yeah, it really frames it strongly. Cites things like, automation taking jobs, the precariousness of gig work becoming more common, and also this huge wealth gap, apparently the biggest since independence, as key drivers making UBI feel, well, critical.
And the core idea, the strength of UBI, according to this source, is its universality.
Exactly. That's the fundamental difference. It anchors economic security simply in being a citizen, period. It's designed to completely bypass all those complex eligibility checks, the bureaucracy, the potential for leaks you see in targeted welfare schemes.
So unlike older models, like in Europe, you mean?
Right, the Bismarckian or Beveridgean systems, which were always tied to having a job history or needing to prove you were poor enough. UBI is different. It just says you're a citizen, here's a basic floor, no stigma attached.
Which feels important when you look at the economic picture. That headline, GDP growth, 8.4% in 2023-24, it sounds good, but...
But it hides a lot.
Yeah.
The article points to the World Inequality Database figures. They're stark. The top 1% now owns 40% of India's wealth. That's like back to colonial-era levels of concentration.
Wow, so GDP is going up, but the benefits aren't spreading out.
Precisely. GDP measures market activity, not fairness, not basic stability for everyone. And UBI, this piece argues, makes that concrete. It's not just abstract economics.
Oh, so?
Well, think about it. It means a gig worker, maybe a delivery driver, whose app is quiet for a few days. They can still buy vegetables they don't have to borrow.
Okay.
Or maybe rickshaw driver's kid needs shoes for school. UBI provides that bit of certainty. It anchors things at the very basic level.
And this isn't just a theory, right? There have been trials, actual studies.
Oh yeah, definitely. The article mentions the CI-led pilots in Madhya Pradesh. Really important work. And international trials too, places like Finland, Kenya.
What did they find? Did it work?
The results are pretty consistent, actually. Better nutrition, kids stay in school more, improved mental health. And crucially, this is the big counter-argument people always raise, it didn't really reduce people's willingness to find work. People still sought jobs.
So if the evidence points towards positive outcomes, the big but must be the cost. How do you pay for it?
That's absolutely the major hurdle, no question. Even a really minimal UBI set at India's poverty line, which is about, what, 7,620 per person per year?
Okay, quite low.
Still, doing that universally would cost around 5% of India's GDP. It's a huge fiscal commitment.
So what's the practical way forward, according to the source? Just jump in.
No, it suggests a phased approach. Start with the most vulnerable groups, perhaps women or the elderly. And really importantly for now, UBI should complement existing essential safety nets, not replace them overnight.
Like PDS and MGN-REGA.
Exactly. Subsidize food grains through PDS, the Rural Employment Guarantee through MGN-REGA. Those need to stay strong while UBI is gradually introduced and scaled up. It's about building layers of security.
Okay, so UBI is about economic rights. The next editorial piece shifts to political rights, specifically the voters list. The Election Commission of India, the ECI, started the Special Intensive Revision, or SR.
Yeah.
And immediately there were accusations, right? A backdoor NRC.
Yes, that was the concern raised. The ECI had to quickly clarify that whatever this SR involved, it would not be happening in Assam.
And Assam is the key exception here.
Absolutely. You can't talk about voter lists or citizenship checks in India without treating Assam as a unique case, because Assam already went through its own massive state-specific National Register of Citizens, the NRC. That finished in August 2019.
Right, under Supreme Court supervision. Huge exercise.
Huge. Cost over 1,600 crore. It included 3.1 crore people and controversially excluded about 19 lakh people.
So Assam already has this judicially overseen list of who is a citizen according to its specific rules.
Exactly. And those rules are different because of Section 6A of the Citizenship Act, which came out of the Assam Accord. It created a distinct legal framework just for Assam. And the Supreme Court just recently, October 2024, upheld Section 6A as constitutional.
So the legal ground in Assam is settled in a way it isn't elsewhere.
That's the core argument. The ECI's job is free and fair elections. It shouldn't be taking on the role of, like, a parallel citizenship tribunal.
Especially when the NRC process, however flawed some found it, is legally concluded for Assam.
Precisely. Imagine the chaos if people who are in the final Assam NRC suddenly found themselves dropped from the ECI's voter list through some other process.
It undermines the whole NRC exercise.
Completely. It risks legal finality and could be incredibly destabilizing in a state with such a sensitive history around citizenship. The ECI needs to stick to its electoral mandate there.
Okay, let's move to the opinion section now. And this one is quite startling. AI and student mental health. The opening statistic is just mind-boggling. Over 1 million people discussing suicide or self-harm with ChatGPT every single week.
It's staggering. It points to this enormous unmet need for mental health support, and people are turning to AI, possibly out of desperation or lack of alternatives. And this brings us to specialized AI tools like PeakMind's Piku, which is being used in places like IITs, coaching institutes for students.
And it's sparking a real debate. Are these tools helpful or actually harmful? The piece presents both sides.
Yes, strongly. On the harmful side, you have Dr. Koshi, a psychiatrist. Her view is that AI in this space is fundamentally deceptive.
Deceptive how?
That artificial personalization. When the bot says things like, "I'm so happy you called me," it creates a false sense of relationship, a fake intimacy. She argues this actually undermines the drive to seek real human therapy, and it subtly reinforces stigma like, you should be able to handle this alone with a machine.
But her biggest worry seems to be clinical, about diagnosis.
Yes. AI is programmed to spot keywords, maybe death wish or similar phrases, but it completely misses the subtle stuff, the visual cues, the tone of voice, signs of withdrawal, isolation. The things a human therapist uses to diagnose deeper issues like psychosis or severe distress. AI just sees the words.
So she's suggesting we need to be really careful about how we label and use these things.
Definitely. Call it an AI tool, she says, not a companion. Maybe limit how long people talk to it. Keep boundaries clear.
Okay, but then there's the other side. Mr. Kumar, representing the platform Piku, argues these tools are actually helpful.
His argument centers on accessibility and measurement. AI can use validated psychological assessments to make mental health issues more, well, measurable, quantifiable. And crucially, it helps overcome the stigma barrier. It's easier for some students to talk to a bot first.
He claims Piku is trained specifically for the Indian context, with safety measures.
Yes, trained on Indian data with guardrails built in. He positions it as a safe first level of support, a place to vent, maybe get some initial coping strategies. And they cite some impressive numbers, raising over 10,000 critical alerts about students in distress, and they claim to have directly intervened in over 100 potential suicide cases.
Wow. So they see it as potentially life-saving.
Yes, and providing tools based on cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, things like guided journaling, breathing exercises, practical stuff.
What about privacy, if it's raising alerts?
They say user identities aren't disclosed to the team reviewing conversations. The goal, they claim, isn't to replace human therapists. It's meant to be a bridge. Build trust, get the student comfortable, so they then feel able to reach out to a real counselor.
But Dr. Koshi had that really sharp point at the end about the real world.
Yeah, that was powerful. If the bot is programmed to always be validating, always supportive, how does that prepare a student for reality? Real-life interactions aren't always like that. Peers, family, they can be dismissive or give bad advice or just be plain mean sometimes.
So an AI that only offers validation might create unrealistic expectations.
Or fail to build resilience,
Yeah.
yeah. Real therapy often involves navigating difficult feedback, accepting that responses aren't always perfect. An overly affirming bot might provide comfort, but maybe not growth. It's a tricky balance.
Moving from mental health to physical health in the workplace, let's look at the science section. Karnataka's new menstrual leave policy. This seems like a pretty big deal. First state to mandate it for all women employees.
Yes, that's the key distinction. 1 day of paid leave per month, so 12 days a year, for women in both government and private sector jobs. It goes much further than existing policies. You know, Odisha and Bihar have something, but only for government staff. Kerala has it, but just for university students. Karnataka's policy is broad.
And the justification is grounded in, well, in recognizing the physical reality, right? Affirmative action.
Right. The committee behind it, led by Dr. Sapna, sees it that way. They even cited global research comparing severe menstrual cramps, dysmenorrhea, to the pain level of a heart attack. It is. So the stated intent is about boosting well-being, acknowledging the pain is real, and hoping that leads to better productivity overall. A progressive move, they argue.
But there's a counter-argument presented, raising concerns about potential bias.
Yes. Dr. Divakar offers a note of caution. Her worry is that mandating leave like this could, ironically, reinforce bias against women in the workplace.
How so?
Her fear is that employers, knowing a female candidate might potentially take an extra 12 guaranteed days off per year, might subconsciously hesitate. They might be less likely to give women critical, time-sensitive projects or leadership roles, fearing potential disruption. It could unintentionally hold women back.
So she sees it as maybe more symbolic than practical and potentially counterproductive.
Sort of, yeah. She argues the focus should shift more towards wellness checks and addressing the root causes of severe pain, things like endometriosis or fibroids. Those often underlie severe dysmenorrhea. Taking a day off helps manage the symptom, but medical evaluation could treat the actual condition.
Which ties into the medical perspective also mentioned, that severe pain isn't normal.
Exactly. Dr. Mahesh emphasizes this. Severe or very heavy periods shouldn't just be dismissed as part of being a woman. Stress, lack of sleep, poor exercise can make things worse, sure, but persistent severe pain needs medical investigation. Too many women delay seeking help because they assume it's just normal.
So the ideal solution seems complex, maybe flexible, optional policies without stigma.
That seems to be the takeaway. Flexibility, making it optional, ensuring no stigma is attached, plus raising awareness so women seek medical help for underlying causes rather than just powering through intense pain every month. It needs a combined approach.
Okay, let's dive into the text and context section. First piece tackles something pretty fundamental to democracy, the nomination process for elections. The article calls nomination scrutiny the most undemocratic part of the whole electoral system. Strong words.
Very strong. And it focuses on the role of the returning officer, the RO. This single official has immense discretion at this stage. The law says they can reject a nomination for defects of a substantial character.
But that sounds vague. What counts as substantial?
Exactly. There are no clear guidelines defining it. So it's up to the RO's interpretation in that moment. And crucially, if your nomination gets rejected, your only real option is an election petition after the election is already over. You can't appeal or fix it mid-process.
Which effectively means a potentially valid candidate can be knocked out on a technicality before polling even starts.
Precisely. And the article argues this vagueness allows the process to be, well, weaponized, used as a procedural trap.
It gives examples.
Yes, quite stark ones. Tej Bahadur Yadav, the BSF Jawan, rejected apparently for a missing election commission certificate. An RJD candidate rejected just for leaving some fields blank on the form. And the situation in Surat where opposition candidates were eliminated after the proposers suddenly denied signing the nomination papers. These are procedural knockouts.
There's also a weird paradox mentioned related to disclosure rules.
Yeah, this is fascinating. The courts have pushed for more transparency, mandating detailed affidavits about assets, liabilities, criminal records, etc. But this has actually created more opportunities for technical rejections, more boxes to fill, more chances to make a tiny error.
So the irony is?
The irony is someone could potentially lie on their affidavit, fill in all the columns incorrectly, but because they filled them, they stay on the ballot. Whereas someone trying to be honest makes a small mistake, leaves a column blank perhaps, and they can be rejected outright. It punishes minor errors more than potential dishonesty.
That seems deeply flawed. How do other places handle this? Does everyone use this kind of sudden death scrutiny?
No, not at all. The article contrasts India's approach with others. In the UK, electoral officials often actively help candidates fix minor errors on their forms.
They help them.
Yeah. Canada actually mandates a 48-hour window for candidates to correct defects after being notified. Germany requires written notice and time to fix problems too. The principle elsewhere seems to be facilitation, helping eligible people run rather than filtration, looking for reasons to disqualify them.
So the suggestion for India is to adopt that kind of approach.
Pretty much. A guaranteed window, say 48 hours, for candidates to fix technical errors after getting clear written notice from the RO, and maybe moving towards a digital-first nomination system. That could eliminate a lot of these issues around typos, blank columns, or using the wrong payment method for the deposit.
Makes sense. It's not just about the candidate's right, it's the voter's right to choose too.
Absolutely. Rejecting someone on a technicality denies the voters a potential choice. It narrows the field unfairly.
Okay, sticking with text and context, the second piece revisits the Taj Mahal history debate. This seems to be a recurring theme, the claim that it was originally a Hindu temple or palace, now being pushed again by a film.
Yes, it's an ideological claim that resurfaces periodically. The article notes the Supreme Court previously dismissed a similar petition, calling it a bee in his bonnet, but the idea persists.
So what does the established recorded history say?
It's very well documented. Built by Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan as a mausoleum for his wife Mumtaz Mahal, we know the chief architect, Ustad Ahmed Lahori. We even have the land records, the vermin showing the land is acquired from Raja Jai Singh, and he was compensated with 4 other properties, 4 Havelis. The transaction is recorded.
Beyond the documents, is there architectural evidence that points one way or the other?
Yes, the article highlights a key architectural feature, the double dome technique.
What's significant about that?
It's a sophisticated technique that allows for a grand exterior dome while maintaining a proportionate interior ceiling height. It wasn't really present in Indian architecture before the arrival of the Turks. You see it earlier in Humayun's tomb in Delhi. Its presence in the Taj strongly places it within that specific Turkic Mughal architectural tradition, making the idea of it being a repurposed older structure much harder to sustain architecturally.
Interesting. And this isn't the first time people have tried to claim different origins for it.
Not at all. The article mentions that back in the 17th century, there were attempts to credit European designers, like a Venetian named Geronimo Veronio or a Frenchman, Austin de Bordeaux.
Even though one of them died before it was even finished.
Right. Austin de Bordeaux actually died the year construction started. So these alternative histories, whether driven by nationalism or ideology, often ignore inconvenient facts. The evidence points strongly towards the accepted Mughal origins.
Okay, let's shift into the business section now. Quite a mix here, starting with Google and Christmas Island. Seems remote.
Extremely remote. It's an Australian territory, but it's way closer to Indonesia, about 350 kilometers south. And Google is planning a major AI data center there, linked to a cloud computing deal they've signed with Australia's Department of Defense.
A defense deal. So this isn't just about storing photos. What's the strategic angle?
It's purely strategic. Christmas Island's location makes it, as the article puts it, a critical front line for surveillance in the Indian Ocean, specifically for monitoring Chinese submarine and naval movements. An AI data center there acts as a forward node for processing intelligence, potentially for command and control of things like drones or other systems.
And the physical connection is key. They need a subsea cable.
Absolutely crucial. Google is seeking environmental approval now for the first cable link running to Darwin. Experts stress that subsea cables offer much higher bandwidth and reliability than satellites. And critically, satellites are vulnerable. They could potentially be jammed by China in a conflict scenario. Cables are more secure for this kind of sensitive data flow.
So it's about secure, high-speed data for military intelligence.
Yes, enabling faster processing and sharing of AI-driven intelligence. The article notes Britain's military just announced a similar Google Cloud deal aimed at boosting intelligence sharing with the U.S. and other allies. It's part of a wider pattern.
Fascinating. Okay, next business piece. The U.S. liquefied natural gas, or LNG. Boom. Sounds like things really taking off.
They really are. 2025 has seen a huge number of long-term sales contracts signed, almost 30 million metric tons per year, NTP, worth in just 10 months. That's the second highest annual total ever.
What's driving this massive surge?
2 main things. Firstly, a global scramble, especially in Europe and Asia, to diversify energy supplies away from Russia after the invasion of Ukraine. And secondly, U.S. policy has become more supportive of building new LNG export terminals, lifting a previous moratorium.
So U.S. capacity is set to explode.
Pretty much double by 2029, according to forecasts. The U.S. could be exporting maybe a third of all globally traded LNG by 2030. It's a massive expansion.
But doesn't that risk creating a glut? The International Energy Agency seems to think so.
Yes, the IEA predicts all this new capacity will swamp the market and push global LNG prices down. That's the standard supply-demand logic.
But the producers themselves, they don't agree.
No. Companies like Woodside and Venture Global are described as bullish. They're betting on massive, long-term demand growth. They see 2 huge drivers. Firstly, the insatiable energy appetite of AI data centers, the same ones driving that Christmas Island project.
Ah, it connects.
Exactly. And secondly, they expect many Asian countries to keep switching from coal to LNG for power generation, seeing LNG as a cleaner transition fuel.
But building these massive LNG plants isn't getting cheaper, is it?
Definitely not. Construction costs are up significantly, maybe as much as 20%, due to inflation for labor and materials, plus tariffs on things like steel.
So how are developers managing that? Are the projects becoming unprofitable?
They're passing the costs on. They're charging buyers higher fees for liquefaction, the process of chilling the gas into a liquid for shipping. Those fees are up about 15% on average.
Any examples?
Yeah, Venture Global is reportedly charging around 2.30 cents per million British thermal units.
Okay.
So up from maybe $1.75 before. Cheniere, another big player, is charging even more, over $2.75 per minute too on some deals.
So costs are up, there's a potential glut predicted, yet buyers are still signing these long-term deals at higher prices, like Japan's JERA, Italy's ENI.
Yes, they are. For them, the priority seems to be securing reliable long-term supply, diversifying away from single sources like Russia. They need that certainty to meet their own energy security needs and, again, to power their own data center growth. They seem willing to pay a premium for that long-term stability right now.
Okay, final business story. Google again, but this time focusing on carbon offsets, a big deal in the Amazon.
Yes, it's Google's largest carbon removal deal so far. They're financing rainforest restoration in Brazil through a startup called Momback. The goal is to offset 200,000 metric tons of CO2 emissions.
And the connection here is AI again.
It's all connected. Big tech companies are realizing just how enormous the energy footprint of their AI data centers is becoming. They need vast amounts of high-quality carbon credits to offset those emissions. Google literally quoted saying, photosynthesis planting trees is the most de-risked technology they have right now for carbon removal.
Why Momback, though? And why restoration instead of just preserving existing forest?
This is what the article calls a flight to quality. Google is deliberately avoiding some of the cheaper carbon credits out there, specifically REDD credits.
READ, what's the issue there?
RED stands for Reducing Emissions from Deforestation and Forest Degradation. It essentially pays landowners not to cut down existing forests. But some REDD projects have faced criticism over questionable accounting, or proving they actually made a difference. Additionality is the technical term. There have been concerns about fraud. Momback does something different. It takes degraded land, often former cattle pasture, and actively restores it, replanting native species to turn it back into jungle. It's creating new carbon sinks, which is seen as more verifiable.
So it's about higher standards and trust.
Exactly. Momback is actually the first project certified under rigorous new scientific standards developed by the Symbiosis Coalition.
Who's that?
It's a group formed by tech companies themselves, Google, Microsoft, Meta, and others, specifically to drive up the quality and accountability of carbon removal projects they invest in. They demand conservative accounting and guarantees of long-term preservation.
And this demand for higher quality must be affecting prices.
Massively. Because these high-standard restoration credits are much harder to generate, they're scarce. So they command a much higher price. The article mentions prices potentially over $50, maybe even $100 per ton, compared to standard REDD credits, which might sell for less than $10 a ton. It shows a real shift in the market towards demanding proof and quality over just cheap volume.
Thank you for listening. If you want to provide suggestions, please contact on the Twitter handle given in the episode description. As always, we are eager to hear what our listeners want to be informed about. We wish you a great day.